Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My fabulous co-host, are we having hearses already? Co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour, about 2 years ago, and it's been there for us every Wednesday through thick and thin, which is wonderful for me because, it's been a week and it's only Wednesday. And I think it's probably like that for a lot of you. So welcome back to those of you returning and welcome to those joining us for the first time. As always, we have two writers reading for their favorite nonprofits, and tonight's readers are Richie Narvaez and Lora Gray. If you are fortunate enough to help others during this time, please consider a donation to tonight's featured nonprofits, NRDC and the Trevor Project. Lora Gray is reading for the Trevor Project. LGBTQ young people are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide, and suicide remains the second leading cause of death among all young people in the US. Through crisis services, peer support, research, public education, and advocacy, the Trevor Project aims to end suicide among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning young people. It envisions a world where all I always screw this up, LGBTQ young people see a bright future for themselves. You can learn more at thetrevorproject.org. The website there is actually pretty cool. You may notice when you log in, not log in, but when we visited it first, it comes up blurred, and there's a message saying that if you need to leave in a hurry, you can hit escape 3 times, and the tab will close or it'll send you away from it, which is just the kind of thinking that this kind of project needs. I really love that. And Richie Narvaez is reading for the Natural Resources Defense Council. NRDC works to safeguard the earth, its people, its plants and animals, and the natural systems on which all life depends. NRDC combines the power of more than 3 million members and online activists with the expertise of some 700 scientists, lawyers, and policy advocates across the globe to ensure the rights of all people to the air, the water, and the wild. You can learn more at nrdc.com. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to leave your camera on. It can be nice to, just see each other. It's nice and cozy here. Chime in on the text chat if you like. I see some of you already are, which is delightful. If you're joining us on Facebook, thank you. Just please understand that we may not be seeing your messages right in the moment. So our first reader tonight is Lora Gray. Lora Gray is a non-binary speculative fiction writer and poet from Northeast Ohio. They have been published in FNSF, Uncanny, Flash Fiction Online, and Asimov's, among other places. Like, that's not enough, right? Lora is also a graduate of Clarion West and a recipient of the Ohio Arts Council's Individual Excellent Award in Fiction Writing.
Yay, Clarion West.
You can find Lora online at laura-gray.com and on Twitter at Lora J. Gray. And I should also say, in case anyone's watching this without all of our lovely little chirons on, Lora, in that case, it's in their case, as opposed to mine, is spelled L-O-R-A. Lora, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be back here.
We are so happy to have you back tonight.
So tonight, I'm going to be reading my story, All That Perfect Blue, and it was originally published last year in Aurealis. A flash of yellow, vivid as Technicolor Oz, and Frankie bursts through the porter into the Nevian desert. She hits the ground shoulder first, survival gear and spectrometers clattering around her. Beyond the porter's light, Nevia is a field of gray pebbles on gray soil, gray mountains knuckling into a gray sky, tufts of gray flora spiking from clusters of gray rock. There's not a speck of blue in sight. Frankie sighs and sits back on her heels, the gravity converters in her suit whining at the shift. She gives them a sharp smack. There was a reluctant click, a whir, and the converters chug back into gear. She really should have bought a new suit before porting off-world. The air shushing through her filter tastes yeasty. The mesh lining is frayed and everything chafes. But she's freelancing off-world color patents these days, and it would take months to save up for a new suit. She needs to record Nevian Blue now, before it's too late, and her dad can't remember what it looks like anymore. Behind her, the porter flickers and the door to Earth snaps shut. Rubbing her sore shoulder, Frankie stands. Jasper tumbles out of her breast pocket, a cartwheel of mechanical legs and compass parts. His solar panels ruffle like the feathers of an angry bird as he skids to a halt. Yellow brick road, my pretty little ass, Jasper grumbles. He's always cranky after porting. Dad loves that movie. Frank kneels to wipe dust from the low dome of Jasper's face. Can't imagine why. Jasper's needles spin below his eyes as he searches for north. I mean, who really wants to go back to Kansas? Don't get me started on Wichita. No place like home? Jasper snorts. Mercy, I can think of plenty of places better than Kansas. I don't need a wizard to tell me that. Years ago, before the off-world mycotic dementia began gnawing at Dad's brain, Frankie watched old movies with him. He loved 20th century film, the grit and sturdiness of practical effects and real movie sets. It's why he paints with oils instead of VR interfaces still. Frankie has always loved Dad's art, all those renderings of the magical places he's been to, Morocco and the Porter Rings in Dubai, Io and the glass sea of Alnar, no twister required. But her dad has never painted Nevia. He hasn't been there since he was a child, when the zinc mines ran dry and his family moved. Ever since the diagnosis 3 years ago and the doctor's suspicion that prolonged exposure to organic matter on Nevia spawned the strange and incurable plaques on his brain, returning hasn't been an option for Dad. But he remembers that perfect Nevian blue from his childhood, even though he's never been able to find a tube of paint that captured that hue. He's tried mixing different colors and mediums, but it's never quite right. Now, Nevia stretches around Frankie like a great gray yawn, and she can't help wonder if maybe Dad is mistaken about that color being there at all. Jasper's navigation system pings. 48 kilometers to the mining settlement. Frankie's heart jerks into her throat. They overshot us by 48 kilometers? Like a cannon, sugar plums. Jasper smooths down the solar panel and crosses a pair of arms. That's what you get for flying coach. Frankie only has a 3-day porting ticket, and it will take at least that long to get the settlement. And even though the doctors told her it would likely take weeks of intimate exposure for any organic matter to affect her the way it did her dad, the thought of being there longer than necessary sours her gut. Jasper rotates his wide, white face toward her. His expression might be sympathetic, or maybe he's just recalibrating. These days, Frankie's never sure. He's an old compass. He taps her ankle gently with the tip of one metal leg. Don't worry, kiddo, he says. I'll get you where you need to be. Now let's go find that color your dad's still wild about. Frankie forces a deep breath and nods. Jasper scampers up and onto her shoulder, and they begin a long walk across a gray desert in search of perfect blue. Hey, Dad, it's Frankie. She always says her name when she calls now. Ever since that time, Dad dreamily called her Carol, and she had to remind him that Mom had been dead for 8 years. The hologram of Dad's face flickers. Behind him is the familiar living room, the peach walls, picture window, his nurse, Shelley, straightening the cushions on the sofa. The long pause has nothing to do with the signal Jasper is tapping into, and Frankie braces herself against the blankness of her dad's stare. Dad? Nighttime wind shushes against the survival tent's low, thin walls. Jasper clicks a pair of impatient mechanical feet, and the projection of Dad's face shifts with him. Dad finally brightens. Oh, Frankie. The delay makes her heart clench. How's it going? You studying hard? Frankie grips her smile tightly. I'm not at university, Dad. I graduated, remember? Of course he doesn't. I'm on Nevia. I ported there this morning. There's a beat of confusion, a tiny snap of embarrassment in Dad's laugh. That's right, he says. That's right. He leans close. Find any new colors yet? How about that Nevian blue? Soon as you have that spectrometer of yours, let me know. Frankie never realizes how desperate she is to talk to her dad, her real dad, the one whose brain isn't being slowly smothered until he has a moment of clarity. Sure thing. It shouldn't take too long after I submit it for them to start manufacturing the paint, assuming the patent clears, of course. Bah! Dad waves a broad hand and wrinkles his nose. All that red tape. The blue comes from mold spores. Did you know that? Dad chuckles and shakes his head, but his smile fades quickly. I wish I'd have known I wouldn't be going back there. You see that blue? It's almost violet, almost, and it's more vivid than anything here on Earth. I can't wait to paint with it. Frankie remembers being 7, maybe 8, perched high on a stool in Dad's studio, a blank canvas in front of her, Dad leaning over her shoulder, strong arm against her back. He'd folded his hands over hers and guided the brush toward the palette, filling the canvas with shapes that might have been clouds or trains or birds. Frankie's about to ask him if he remembers when Dad's posture shifts. His fingers curl into what's left of his hair as if he's cradling something precious. Frankie's mouth goes dry. She watches the drift, the fade, the fog. You studying hard? Dad asks. Your mom and I were wondering when you'll be coming home for spring break. The wind shoves the wall of the tent inward and howls. You okay, kiddo? Jasper murmurs, reaching out to pat the sole of her foot. Frankie shifts out of reach, tucking her legs under herself. Can I talk to Shelley? She asks instead, voice bright. Before Dad can make sense of the name, Shelley appears behind him, chipper and sunny, apple round cheeks and white teeth. Frankie wants to reach across the connection and rattle it all out of her. How's he doing? Frankie hates that Dad is standing there when she asks it. Oh, you know how it is. He has good days and bad days, Shelley says, as Dad wanders away from the camera. Today's been a very good day. Shelley's voice is sugar. It grits. Is he taking his meds? Frankie asks. Every morning. How about painting? Is he doing that? When he remembers to. It's the same conversation every time. Is he getting worse? When is his next appointment? Why isn't he getting more exercise? Why? In the background, Frankie can see Dad shuffling to the picture window and back again, his face soft and empty, eyes unfocused. Shelley never stops smiling. Frankie tries not to think about how slack Dad's expression had been, how she could almost see his brain circling as if trying to remember how to land, how every time she talks to him, he seems farther away. She needs to focus. She can't stay here. She needs to record that color. But trudging through the Nevian landscape doesn't give her many distractions. It's nothing but gray pebbles and sand, gray sand and pebbles, and listening to Jasper grumble about the angle of the sun and Nevia's awful magnetic fields, mercy. Jasper's been with her since undergrad, when old school compasses were trendy and he was the best she could afford. Now she needs him for posterity, safety regulations, and porting clearance. He's a good little compass and Frankie loves him, really she does. But he's been complaining about this planet for hours and Frankie stops suddenly. We passed that same rock an hour ago. She hopes she's wrong, but it's the only landmark she's managed to cement in her brain. A towering lump of wrinkled stone curling in on itself like a closed fist. What? Jasper's legs jut out straight and stiff. The tips of his feet dig into Frankie's shoulder before he springs down and scurries across the pebbled ground, his needles spinning. I told you, the magnetic fields here are like marmalade. Frankie sinks onto her haunches. She tells herself not to panic. The doctors told her it would take weeks of exposure, and she still has her suit to protect her, and it isn't as if they'd be stranded. She can always buy an extension on her ticket, but that would cost half her paycheck at least, and she couldn't afford to pay Shelley without that paycheck. And what about Dad's medicine? She needs to stay calm. Did you recalibrate when we landed? Frankie asks. Jasper snorts affronted. Yes. Are you sure? Frankie really should have upgraded to a newer in-helmet compass before porting. Jasper's hardware is outdated. She's not even sure he'd be able to run his emergency programs if they got into real trouble. A new compass would have never gotten them lost like this. Of course I'm sure. Jasper doesn't look sure. Maybe you forgot. It would be so much easier if Frankie could just bring herself to let him go. Hi, Dad. It's Frankie. Hey! Dad's eyes are bright. There's a smudge of green paint on his chin. How are you doing, kiddo? A good day, then. Frankie's relief is so intense she almost laughs. Better. We got a little lost this afternoon. Jasper ducks his head, embarrassed, and Frankie shifts to keep her dad's hologram in her field of vision. We should reach the settlement tomorrow. Have you been painting? What? Oh, yes. Dad swipes a knobby thumb over the green on his chin. Figured it was about time I painted out in the garden again, on plain air. Got to keep those old artistic wheels turning. Are you coming home for spring break? Frankie tenses. Dad, I'm on Nevia. What are you doing on Nevia? His voice pitches higher. It's dangerous there. I'm here for work. I'll only be here for a few days. The doctor's cleared me. I'll be fine. I'm fine. That's right. That's right. He waves his hand like he's swatting memories back into place. It's your mother. She's always worrying. You know how she is. Dad. Frankie looks down at the nutrient pouch in her hands, almost empty and half collapsed between her fingers. Mom died, remember? She's not there anymore. Frankie can feel Dad straining to bridge the gaps in his brain, and the snap of anger when he can't quite manage it is like a slap. Of course your mother's not here. Why would your mother be here? She died a long time ago. Even though the interplanetary connection, Frankie can see the fear glittering in the backs of her dad's eyes. It's just that sometimes you forget. I'm not stupid. I know you're not, Dad, Frankie says quietly. A long level gaze, Dad's eyes dark and stern. When the expression finally dissolves, Frankie isn't sure if it's because he's forgiven or forgotten. How are your classes going? He finally asks. Are you still planning on coming home for spring break? Frankie taps the end call button on Jasper's side and the connection goes dark. Oh, goodness. Jasper's legs twitch and Frankie can hear him warming up to reestablish the connection. Don't, Frankie says, her eyes fixed on the space Dad had occupied. Her hands are unsteady as she takes a sip from her nutrient pouch. I'll call him again tomorrow. Jasper swivels his head. Are you sure? You didn't say goodbye. Frankie pictures all the broken pieces deep inside her chest gluing themselves back into place. She wonders how many more times she can do this before those pieces refuse to stick. I'm sure. Jasper lets the connection time out, and Frankie finishes her dinner in silence. When Frankie curls into her thermal blanket to sleep, Jasper nestles beside her like he used to when she was at university and homesick, when she watched The Wizard of Oz late into the night and imagined her dad there beside her, when she'd repeated, "There's no place like home," silently to herself, even though she'd never even seen a pair of ruby slippers. Now, Frankie wraps her hand around one of Jasper's mechanical legs and holds on tight. He pretends not to notice when she begins to cry. They reach the edge of the abandoned settlement on sunset the next day, and when Frankie calls home, Shelley answers. She's smiling. Of course she's smiling. Is Dad there? The thought of not having her dad with her now sparks some deep fear Frankie thought she'd buried years ago, of closet monsters and dark basements with no nightlights. She wants her dad to hold her hand. I'd like to talk to him. I'm not sure that's a good idea, Shelley says. He's having a bad day. Frankie's mouth is dry. It's okay. It never is. I still want to talk to him. Shelley moves off camera, sing-song voice coaxing Dad to stand up, that's it, say hi to Frankie. Dad meanders into frame, Shelley cradling his arms as if he might float away if she doesn't anchor him. Even after 3 years of watching her dad succumb to this illness, the vacancy still hurts. His expression is a doughy slope, as if the dementia has somehow gnawed away the bones of his face. His eyes are sunken, his gaze is filmy, he doesn't blink. He seems smaller than he should. His head, was he ever quite so bald, is too round and bulbous for his delicate shoulders. Hi, Dad. Frank's voice is unsteady. It's Frankie. Dad's eyes wobble but refuse to focus anywhere but past her. I just wanted to say hi. His lips part, but his mouth seems more concerned with breathing than with words. I'm going to the settlement tomorrow morning. You used to live there when you were a kid. His head swivels, slow and directionless, a balloon with a face painted on it bobbing, turning. She wishes he would say something, anything, even if it's just to tell her to be careful, even if it's to ask when she'll be home from school. I'm going to record Nevi in Blue, Dad. I'll tell you all about it. He begins to wander across the room. He drifts slowly away. Nevia has been devouring the settlement for years. The protective dome and artificial atmosphere are long gone, and every structure, every spike of broken steel is covered in gray dust. Frankie recognizes the broad streets from her own research and Dad's old photos, the lumps that were once factories, the fat circle that used to be a docking station. Frankie takes a deep breath and walks to the center of town, Jasper clinging to her shoulder. The wind moans in her earpiece. The sun is pale and low as Frankie passes through the remains of her father's childhood. Houses huddle together, walls twist inward like broken limbs, I-beams lean like crutches. A mile to the west is the ridge Dad told her about so many times, the one that separates the town from the field leading to the zinc mines. It sweeps upward, the lips so high that she can't see the promised blue on the other side of it. She hesitates at the base. She wants to call her dad again. Jasper nudges her with one delicate leg. She feels his aging joints grind under the touch. She tries not to think about how little time they have. Come on, kiddo, he says. We ain't got forever. No, I guess we don't. Stones dislodge as Frankie begins to climb, the landscape fragmenting and falling piece by tiny piece into the town below. Someday those stones will bury it all. No more empty houses with gaping windows, no more abandoned streets where children might have raced, and the ghost of Dad as a boy still runs, with his vibrant grin and tufts of wild hair. The ridge grows steep, and Frankie leans into it. She crawls, hand over hand, legs stubborn, teeth grit. Jasper presses close. Her suit's gravity converter clicks in and out of gear, and Frankie's thighs twitch. Her ankles burn, her lungs ache. With a final traveling heave, she crests the ridge and looks down into the valley. And there it is. A massive sea of undulating, glittering blue, shifting over gray soil like new powdered snow, rolling toward the horizon. It's almost violet, almost. And it's more vivid than anything she's ever seen on Earth. Mercy, Jasper whispers, and there's a reverence to the word she didn't know he was capable of. Frankie folds her hand over Jasper's narrow leg. Her throat is stinging, and she can feel her pulse throbbing between her fingertips and the glove of her suit, as if her heart would pound away from her if she let go. Dad should be there. It's his color, after all. She imagines him beside her, climbing over the lip of that steep and dangerous cliff. He'd straighten slowly. He'd look at the landscape that has haunted him since childhood, the blue Frankie has worked so hard to find for him, and his mind would miraculously churn to life again. He'd turn to her with tears in his eyes and hug her, sturdy and strong, and tell her that he loves her. Frankie takes the spectrometer from her pack. She steadies the tripod. She sets the levels. She leans into the viewfinder, and the world around her shrinks, unfocused and shapeless as swaths of paint on new canvas. She zooms in, refocuses until everything is blue. When Frankie pulls away, the wind shifts, and the blue shifts with it, mold spores billowing upward, a pillowy cloud mushrooming toward her so fast she can't hope to get away from it. It blankets Jasper, washes over her, covers her mask, her helmet and hands. Her air filter sputters. It should take weeks for any of it to hurt her. Still, Frankie holds her breath and closes her eyes to commit the moment to memory just in case. She doesn't want to forget all that blue, all that perfect blue. And
Thank you so much, Laura.
you're welcome.
I'm glad everyone else was muted so we couldn't hear everyone's hearts breaking.
Oh,
That was exactly what it needed to be.
thank you.
Wow.
Danielle, is it stories like this that make us want that breath in between the stories?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to give everyone a hug right now. Like, sorry.
I wish you could. But, you know, we have another story, and that's the next best thing. And this is going to be a good story because, you know, we've got Richie reading one. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Richie Narvaez teaches at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. His short stories have appeared in Mississippi Review, Pilgrimage, Story Glossia, and Tiny Nightmares, among others. His slipstream short story Room for Rent from the anthology Latinx Rising was read by LeVar Burton on LeVar Burton Reads podcast. His most recent novel is the YA mystery Holly Hernandez and the Death of Disco, and his latest book is the anthology Noir Yorican. Did I ever do the role?
That was perfect.
You're so kind, Richie. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
It is our pleasure. We are so glad you were able to come back. And now Laura's broken our hearts, so you're gonna powder the pieces for us, or hand them
yeah.
back? Okay.
Yeah, I think mine is strangely enough, it also has to do with aging. So there's a parallel there, but I hope it's a fairly lighthearted tale, and it's a ghost story. This was it's an old story that bounced around for a while, by which I mean it got rejected many, many times until it was published by Pilgrimage in 2017 or something. So this is The Unfaithful Ghost. In her small apartment in the Bronx, Emily Flores dreamed of Tyrone Power. Wearing a 10-gallon hat, chaps, and a pencil-thin mustache, the actor slid off his horse. He held a bouquet of impossibly white daisies. "These here are for you, miss," Power said. "I'm no spring chicken," Emily told him, "but I look good for my age." As she took the luminescent flowers, the townspeople cheered. The sun beamed behind the actor, warming her, making her face flush. But then she felt cold, freezing at her back. She woke and switched on the lamp and turned to see her ex-husband, Pedro Flores, lying there next to her, naked. He appeared as he did when she first met him, young, handsome, leering. "Son of a bum bitch," she said. The odd thing of it was that Pedro had passed away weeks ago. Heart attack, Florida. She had sent flowers. God have him in heaven, she thought, and crossed herself. She got up, went down the small hallway to her tiny kitchen. She microwaved water for tea. She took the tea and sat on the dining table and opened a Word Find magazine. She circled one word after another for an hour. This was no different than most of her mornings, except that it was happening a few hours earlier and that the ghost of her ex-husband had woken her up. In time, she stopped her word finding and listened. Silence throughout the apartment, emptiness in the halls, just like usual. She went back to the bedroom, but before entering, she said, "I'm going to walk into the room, and when I do, you better not be there." Emily looked in and saw only rumpled sheets. When she got back into bed, she smelled a hint of Pedro's old cologne. She pulled off all the sheets when she put clean ones on and settled under the blankets. She sniffed to make sure the air was clear and closed her eyes. That son of a bum bitch. Emily was dusting a framed photograph of Pedro in an entertainment unit filled with photographs of him and her and no one else. The phone rang. She stared at it. Who would be calling? There was no one else left to be calling. Still, before she picked it up, she knew it would be about Pedro. It was Janissa, the monkey-faced girl, Pedro's fourth and most recent wife, the woman who had stolen Pedro from her. "He's here," Janissa said, almost screaming. "¿Quién?" Emily said, knowing the answer. Pedro is dead, mija. You had a bad dream." "I wasn't dreaming. He's really here." I went to the kitchen and there he was sitting in his chair, like always. I didn't even think about it at first because it's only been a few weeks, you know. He was in his work pants. I said to him, "Buenos dias, vieja. Buenos dias, viejo." Just like always. And he didn't say anything. That's when I realized I could see the palm tree outside. I was looking right through him. I swear I'm not lying. Hand up to God. Emily put the cell phone in her neck and dusted off a bust of St. Anthony that she used as a bookend. "So, what did you do about it?" "I ran to my room screaming. I got on my knees and prayed and prayed." Did he go away?" "I don't know. I'm afraid to look. I don't know what to do. Please help me." "Ay Dios," Emily thought to herself. Well, it's not like I have anything better to do. She took an afternoon flight. In Orlando, the twilight was hot and bugs sang in the trees. She got out of the cab and was sweating by the time she got to the door. Janissa opened it before she knocked, her face soggy with tears. "It's horrible," she said. Emily had not seen Janissa in a long while. She saw now that while still monkey-faced, the woman who had stolen her husband was no longer the thin thing she used to be, now graying. "In here," Janissa said. As soon as they entered the kitchen, Emily clutched her throat. Pedro sat there, looking not young, not handsome, not lusty. He banged on the table the way he used to when he demanded to be fed. The flesh on part of his face was rotted away. But when he saw Emily, he cocked his head, and what was left of his eyebrows raised themselves in a flirty arch. The doorbell rang. Janissa ran to get it. "Son of a bum," Emily said to Pedro before following Janissa to the front door. There, Janissa was speaking to a young, bald man with bad skin, who she soon introduced as Pastor Luke. He shook Emily's hand and looked at her without blinking. He spoke very bad Spanish before Emily spoke to him in English, which led to a look of great relief on his face. "Are you here to do an exorcism?" said Emily. He chuckled. "Oh, my stars. We don't do that," he said, "although I bet Pastor Tom wishes we did." "It's in the kitchen," Emily said. "Go see for yourself." The young pastor smiled blandly and went into the kitchen. The woman waited. Emily asked Janissa, "Is he a veteran?" "I don't think so." "Then he is going to piss his pants." "Emily." Emily smiled, and then they heard the pastor say, "Would you please come in here?" They walked in and saw the young pastor sitting at the table where Pedro had been sitting before. "Nothing here but an empty kitchen chair," the pastor said. "You made him disappear," said Janissa. The pastor looked at her calmly. "Sometimes when we lose a loved one, we think we see them because we miss them so much. He may be gone, but he will never disappear from our hearts. Why don't we pray together?" Seated on the vinyl furniture in the living room, he led them in prayer. It took a long time. Emily mouthed the words, but in her mind, she thought of Pedro. She remembered a dirty joke he once told her about a pastor, and to stop herself from giggling too much, she thought of her life with him. Days at Orchard Beach in the Bronx, nights of dancing at the Copa and the city, afternoons of watching TV while holding hands. Finally, the pastor wished them well and was on his way, inviting them to a potluck social the following night. After he left, Emily turned to Janessa. Let's look again. They did. And there was Pedro back again, this time rising from the chair he had sat in before. He looked more rotted than ever. An ear fell off and worms crawled out of the hole it left. His lipless mouth gaped open in a soundless howl. Oh my God, no, said Janessa, running away. Emily felt tears rise in her eyes. This was different than before, to see her husband, ex-husband, so deteriorated, so obviously suffering. But then she had a thought. Wait a second, she said to Pedro. Weren't you cremated? With what was left of his mouth, Pedro frowned. I know what you're doing. She yelled, Janessa, get back in here. Janessa squealed from far away. He's pretending, said Emily to the younger woman. He's just trying to make you feel sorry for him. What a sneak. Dios mío, Dios mío, Dios mío, Janessa said. Emily told her, this is your house now. He can't keep you out of your own kitchen. When they looked again, Pedro was gone. He'll be back, Janessa said. Please stay, senora. I can't be here alone. I know he will. I know, Pedro. What does he want? Do you think he wants to kill me? No, I think he just wants company. He's afraid to be alone. He never liked being alone. But he looks so scary. He's playing with you. It's not funny. It is a little. I don't think it's funny. Are you staying? Why not? During his life, Pedro had had 4 wives. Doña Esmeralda had been his first, and she'd met him when they were teenagers. Now, at 76, she lived alone in a small town in Puerto Rico and did all the chores and made 3 meals a day plus a snack. She stood in the sitting room by her patio and held a barking miniature Doberman in her arms as she spoke into the phone. See, he's here, but he's not getting in. Tarzan is not letting him in, she said, gently bobbing the bug-eyed dog up and down in her arms. Isn't that right, Tarzan? Pedro stood in the backyard on the other side of the patio windows. He looked young and svelte in swimming trunks. Through his young, flat belly, Doña Esmeralda could see a mango falling from the tree behind him. Tarzan continued to bark. Pedro sneered at the quivering dog and vanished. Emily hung up the phone and said to Janessa, just like I thought, he went there too. Janessa said she would make dinner, but Emily insisted on taking the nervous younger woman out to eat. You have to get out of this house, get away from the memories, from all this death, you know? Come on. They drove to a restaurant Janessa had never been to because Pedro had thought it was too expensive. Emily ordered a margarita while Janessa asked for a soda, but instead Emily told the waitress to get the younger woman a rum and Coke. You need to relax, and let's get some shrimp. I never had shrimp before. Pedro said it cost too much. I can imagine what he said. And I'm going to get lobster tails. You want lobster tails? Pedro said it cost. Pedro's not paying tonight. Oh my God, he wouldn't be caught dead in this kind of restaurant. That's because we caught him dead at your house. They both laughed. Janessa snorted. Soon a large mound of shrimp husks and lobster shells were piled in front of them. Emily was on her 3rd margarita and Janessa on her 4th rum and Coke. Shrimp and lobster, 2 of the best reasons for being alive, Emily said. Janessa smiled, her face shiny with butter sauce. Oh my God, I never knew. And we should make sure to get cheesecake and coffee. It's heaven. See, there are things in life you can enjoy all on your own. Who needs a husband? But it's nice to share things with somebody, Janessa said. I guess so, Emily said, sipping a drink, but I think it's better to be free to do whatever you want, whenever you want. I always wanted to go to Italy, but I know, now you can go. You're being so nice to me, Emily. And you flew all the way here. I don't think I ever said I was sorry. When I met Pedro, I was so young, so stupid. I didn't know. Listen, Emily said, sometimes people want what they want whether it's good or bad for them, and it doesn't matter who or what gets in the way. Believe me, I know. As Emily drove them back to Janice's house, she watched the palm trees blend together in a swaying black canopy above the car. Janice was slumped in the passenger seat. Her hair, which was usually pulled tight to her skull, had loose gray curls coming out of the sides and on top of her head. Her giant circular earrings stuck up like golden Mickey Mouse ears coming out the sides of her head. Emily thought she was asleep until the woman mumbled in a sleepy voice, "I have to get rid of him. I want to live in peace." Amen. Janice giggled. "I have an idea." Pedro was in the kitchen, sitting at the table again, arms crossed, only semi-decrepit looking. They knew he was expecting dinner. "Ike," Emily said, hot with liquor. "You big what's the matter for you, you big son of a bum bitch." He smirked and flies flew out of his ears. Emily picked up a pan to hit him with Janessa. Her hair, even wilder now, stepped in front of him. "You want something to eat, Don Pedro? You want some arroz con habichuela y chuletas?" He smiled wide, all his teeth present. His hair became slicked and bright. "And how are you going to eat it? Tell me, how? You tell me." Pedro's eyes flared red. Flame shot out of his nose, and then he faded suddenly into the chair. Where'd he go? Bedroom. And there he was, lying on the sheets in a sharp-looking jacket and silk shirt and no pants. The smell of cologne hung like thick fog. "Pho," said Janissa, coughing. "So much Old Spice." The jacket and shirt faded away. "Look at that. Even in death, you leave your socks on." You're not getting anything here today, Emily said. "How could you satisfy a woman in your condition?" The sheets bunched up and whirled in a dervish, creating a hurricane of hot, suffocating, cologne-scented air in the room. The bed shook, pictures flew, and a lamp crashed on the floor. The lamp," said Emily. "That's okay, I hate that lamp," said Janissa. And then the whirlwind stopped and the two women were sitting on the floor. "Let's get him," Emily said. Janissa looked in the living room, but Emily found him in a bathroom, naked again, floating 3 feet above an empty tub. "Here," she said. "Dios ayúdame," Janissa said, crossing herself. "Talk to him, Janissa. Show him who's boss." Janissa pushed the door open and held up one of her slippers. "Mira, viejo, I'm glad you finally decided to take a bath. You stink like death." Pedro, looking mature, strong, turned his dignified head. His eyebrows arched. Bats flew out of his nostrils. Blood ran from his mouth. "Mira, don't make a mess in my bathroom," Janissa said. "I'm not going to clean up after you anymore." The ghost of Pedro rose from the tub, flames flickering off his body. His intestines ripped out of his belly and turned into enormous black snakes that curled around each other, hissing. This was too much for Janissa, who yelped and ran. Emily came in and threw a towel at the ghost. "Ha! That's enough from you. And make sure you wash your little dinghy, viejo. You're gonna have to take care of yourself now." The flames peaked into white hot light and then vanished along with Pedro. The pink shower curtain fluttered. Later, as they said goodnight, Emily told Janissa, "There's still the chimney. You really think he would go there?" The chimney was Pedro's nickname for his second wife, a woman who had never met a cigarette she didn't light. The woman Emily had stolen Pedro from. Janissa shook her head. When he passed, she never called. She didn't send anything for the funeral. I don't think they got along. They didn't, I know for sure, but if he wants to go there, let him. After Janissa went to sleep, Emily took a deep breath and called the chimney. Pamela, who now lived in Long Island in a split level with a concrete lawn. She had buried her second husband years before and lived off his pension. She had no kids, no dogs, and one hobby besides nicotine, TV. "I am sorry to bother you. It's me, Emily Flores. I wanted to find out about Pedro." Emily heard the other woman suck deeply on a cigarette. "Don't you worry about him," Pamela said in a phlegmy voice. "He's right here watching TV with me." In her home, Pedro lay stretched out in a Barker lounger. He wore guayabera slacks and slip-on shoes. He was snoring. Do you need any help? Emily said. I don't need your help, lady, said Pamela, exhaling. He's mine again now. He's going to stay mine. Don't call here anymore. That night, Emily dreamed of Sidney Poitier. He held a bouquet of lilies, but lilies reminded her of funerals, so she didn't touch them. He leaned in close, and in Pedro's voice, he said something naughty about the way her lips looked when she ate shrimp. She started laughing, but then the street became a desert that stretched out in all directions. In the morning, she and Janice ate breakfast in the ghostless kitchen. Emily told her about the call to the chimney, so she's going to keep him. It looks like that. Do you want to stay here for a little while? It's very nice and not too hot right now. Thank you, but I miss my little apartment, my knickknacks, my pictures. Emily got her luggage. Janissa made her a sandwich for the plane. Thank you, Janissa said. You saved me. It was your idea. You don't think he's going to come back here, do you? If he does, get a Chihuahua. A few days later, Emily, back in the Bronx, dusted framed photographs in the living room. Next, she would dust the TV set, which she kept on all day, just to hear another voice in the house. And then she would mop the already clean floors. Afterward, she planned to make a drink, plop down on the couch, and watch the sunset off over the Cross Bronx Expressway before making pork chops. But then her phone rang. It was the chimney. How do I get rid of him? She said in a phlegmy voice. He won't let me watch my shows. It's always sports and the news and those damn Chuck Norris movies. Why don't you just get another TV set? Emily said. I have a TV set in every room, but all the sets show what he's watching. He never moves. I think I'm thinking of calling a priest. That's not going to help. Please help me. I'm going crazy here. When people come over, he turns naked. It's embarrassing. I can't put up with this. Are you sure? I know what I said, but please help me. I'll see what I can do. No promises. Emily hung up the phone. She knew there would be no need to travel. The next morning, she brushed her teeth, padded to the kitchen in her chancletas. She made coffee and heated the milk until it formed nata, because Pedro loved nata. She set out 2 cups and 2 spoons. Que túpida, she thought. But people want what they want, whether it's good or bad for them. And it wasn't like she had anything better to do. In a few minutes, she turned to Pedro, who sat there handsomely in a suit and tie, and said, hello, you big son of a bum bitch. Thank you.
Thank you, Richie. It was nice to have a few belly laughs to
Good.
loosen things up again. Oh, that was
Thank you.
quite wicked.
It was
Daniel,
fun
what
to
a
read.
night.
Thank you. 2 perspectives on aging there, which is, I think, was nice.
And both accurate. Yeah, there's a lot to say about aging, for sure, as we all head there. At exactly the same pace, I will note. Daniel, what a great night of stories we've had. It was really great to have 2 really vivid stories to give us another place to be for a while. So thank you both very much. Next week, we have another 2 readers. We have ML Krishnan and Scott Nicolay. I do recommend checking storyhour2020.com in case of any changes. It's also a good place just to, make sure which Wednesdays you are going to be free, because your favorite writers are going to be reading. You can also watch programs you may have missed, or watch this one a few more times. No judgment. I think they're all worthy. On the Story Hour page on Facebook. So Lora Gray, Richie Narvaez, thank you both so much for sharing your stories with us tonight.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
much.
We hope
Thank you
you'll
for
both
having me.
we hope you will both come back again.
Of course.
And thank you to my wonderful co-host, Daniel Marcus, without whom we would not have this to do every Wednesday. And thank you to all of you who are here now, all of you who are watching on Facebook or who will watch this sometime in the future, because somehow we've all come together in this same hour, sharing the fictive dream together. And that's a wonderful thing. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Be well.